The turning point in your life begins the moment you stop shaping your choices around other people's expectations and finally decide to honor your own path. You don't win by holding on to what drains you, you win by releasing it. Letting go isn't about failure or loss. It's about breaking free from the invisible chains that keep you tied to pain, judgment, or approval that was never yours to chase. True power comes when you release what no longer serves you, because in that release, you claim the space to breathe, to rebuild, and to truly live. There comes a moment when you realize that most of the weight you're carrying doesn't even belong to you. It belongs to the opinions of others, the expectations they placed on you, the mistakes you replay in your mind, and the roles you thought you had to fulfill to be accepted. This constant need to hold on makes people feel safe, as if clinging to the familiar will somehow protect them from pain. But the truth is, holding on doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you stuck. It traps you in cycles of anger, guilt, and fear, replaying the same stories that prevent you from moving forward. Letting go is one of the most misunderstood acts of strength. People often think it's about forgetting, ignoring, or pretending it never mattered. In reality, it's about refusing to let the past dictate your future. It's about saying, "This happened, but it no longer has the right to control me." Letting go is not coldness or indifference. It's a decision to choose peace over turmoil, clarity over confusion, and growth over stagnation. It's an act of courage that tells the world you are no longer willing to sacrifice your freedom just to carry the weight of what should have been left behind. What letting go really means is far deeper than simply walking away from someone or something. It is a deliberate act of reclaiming your life from the past, from the expectations that were never yours, from the people who took without giving back, and from the pain you've been carrying far longer than you needed to. Most people confuse letting go with forgetting. They think that if they let go, they are dismissing their experiences, pretending it never happened, or betraying their own emotions. But true letting go isn't about erasing memory or ignoring what was. It's about refusing to allow that memory to dictate who you are today and who you will become tomorrow. It is the choice to acknowledge the past without surrendering your present and future to it. Letting go is often mistaken for coldness or detachment, as if those who release the ties are heartless. But nothing could be further from the truth. Letting go is a profoundly loving act for yourself. It is protecting your energy, your mental clarity, and your emotional balance from the constant drain of resentment, guilt, or fear. It is realizing that holding on to someone who hurt you or to a situation that failed you does not serve justice. It only prolongs your suffering and steals precious moments of your life that could be spent growing, thriving, and being free. At its core, letting go is an act of empowerment. It is choosing your own peace over the chaos that surrounds you. It is declaring that your worth and your happiness are no longer negotiable, and that you will not allow the mistakes of others, or even your own past mistakes, to chain you to regret. Letting go requires courage because it asks you to step into the unknown, to release control over outcomes, and to accept that not everything or everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. It asks you to confront fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of making a different choice, the fear that life may be uncertain without the familiar structures you have held onto for so long. But it is precisely in facing these fears that true freedom emerges. People cling to the past because it is familiar. Even pain, even disappointment can feel safer than the vast uncertainty of the future. You may hold on to relationships that no longer serve you, jobs that drain you, or expectations that suffocate you simply because they are known quantities. Letting go, on the other hand, is stepping into unfamiliar territory where real growth lives. It is creating space for new experiences, new people, and new possibilities to enter your life. It is recognizing that the chains you've been holding on to were never meant to protect you. They were meant to keep you small, trapped, and tied to a narrative that is not your own. Letting go also means setting boundaries that honor your value. It is saying no to those who demand more than they are willing to give. It is deciding not to invest energy in people or situations that drain you without reciprocity. It is choosing to stop chasing validation that was never truly yours to earn, and instead investing your time, your emotions, and your energy in the people and pursuits that uplift and inspire you. This kind of self-respect is often mistaken for selfishness, but in reality, it is a form of survival. It is how you protect yourself from being consumed by the needs, expectations, and opinions of others. Letting go is also about internal release. It is acknowledging your pain without letting it define you. It is forgiving, not necessarily for the sake of others, but for your own liberation. Holding on to anger or resentment may feel justified, but it weighs heavily on your spirit, keeps you from sleeping at night, and clouds your judgment. Letting go is an act of clarity. It is understanding that your life is too short to carry burdens that do not belong to you, that you are too powerful to be imprisoned by the actions or words of others, and that every moment spent clinging to what was is a moment lost from what could be. What letting go really means is claiming the authority to live life on your own terms. It is an act of self-determination, an emotional declaration that you will no longer surrender your well-being to forces outside your control. It is refusing to let fear, guilt, or obligation dictate your decisions. It is embracing the reality that freedom does not come from holding on. It comes from release. It is the understanding that life is not measured by the grudges you keep, the pain you endure, or the approval you chase. It is measured by the peace, clarity, and joy you cultivate for yourself once you finally choose to let go. Letting go is not a one-time event. It is a practice, a daily decision to choose yourself over the patterns that have held you back. Every time you release a grudge, a toxic relationship, or an unrealistic expectation, you reclaim a piece of your energy and your identity. Every act of letting go is a step toward living fully, intentionally, and authentically. And while it is often the hardest choice to make, it is also the most transformative. It allows you to live unbound by the past, unshackled from what no longer serves you, and open to the limitless possibilities that exist when you finally decide to live for yourself. Letting go is often far more difficult than we imagine, not because we don't want freedom, but because human beings are wired to cling. We cling to people, to places, to memories, and even to pain because the familiar, even if it hurts, is comforting. It's predictable. It's a known quantity. Change, by contrast, is unknown, and the human mind fears the unknown. The moment you consider releasing someone or something that has shaped your life, you are faced with uncertainty. Who will you be without them? How will life look when the structure you've relied on disappears? This uncertainty triggers fear, and fear is one of the most powerful chains that keeps people trapped in situations that no longer serve them. Fear of being alone is one of the biggest reasons people hold on. Humans are social creatures, wired to seek connection and belonging. Even toxic relationships feel safer than solitude, because loneliness forces you to face your own thoughts, your own truth, and your own feelings without distraction. Walking away from people who drain or hurt you can feel like stepping into a void, and many would rather endure ongoing pain than confront that emptiness. They convince themselves that staying, even when it's damaging, is better than risking the discomfort of being alone. Attachment is another reason letting go is so challenging. People form deep emotional bonds, not just with others, but with the versions of themselves that exist in those relationships. We become attached to who we thought someone was, the person we expected them to be, or even the idea of what could have been. When reality doesn't match that image, letting go means acknowledging the truth, and that is rarely easy. Accepting reality forces us to confront disappointment, broken trust, and unmet expectations. It requires admitting that what we wanted or believed in may never come to fruition, and that admission can feel like failure or betrayal, not to others, but to ourselves. Then there is the fear of change itself. Letting go is transformation. It is uprooting a part of your life and stepping into a version of yourself that is unfamiliar. Change can be terrifying because it threatens your sense of identity. Who are you without the roles you've played, the relationships you've maintained, or the routines you've followed? People struggle to release what they've known because doing so demands courage, self-reflection, and a willingness to step into vulnerability. It's easier to remain tethered to the familiar, even if it's painful, than to risk the uncertainty of reinventing your life. Guilt is another silent but powerful obstacle. Many hold on because they feel responsible for others' feelings, happiness, or stability. They believe that letting go is selfish, that walking away is abandonment, or that their actions will somehow harm someone else. This misplaced sense of duty can create invisible chains, trapping people in relationships, jobs, or situations that erode their well-being. Guilt convinces them that staying is the morally correct choice, even when it comes at the expense of their own mental and emotional health. Memory and habit also play a role. Humans are wired to attach meaning to experiences, and once we invest time and energy into a person or situation, letting go can feel like erasing a part of ourselves. Habit makes us comfortable with repetition, even when repetition is harmful. The brain craves routine, and releasing a familiar pattern, no matter how toxic, requires deliberate effort and constant reinforcement. The longer we cling to the past, the stronger these neurological and emotional connections become, making the act of letting go increasingly challenging. There is hope, an intangible but deeply rooted force. People struggle to let go because they hold on to the hope that things will change, that the person will suddenly become what they wish them to be, or that the situation will eventually improve. Hope can be a double-edged sword. It motivates persistence, but it also prevents closure. When hope is tied to something that cannot realistically transform, it becomes a trap, a loop of disappointment that keeps people imprisoned in what already failed. In truth, struggling to let go is not a sign of weakness. It is a reflection of how deeply we feel, how much we care, and how human we are. Our attachments, fears, habits, and hopes shape us, and stepping away from them requires not just courage, but awareness and intention. Recognizing these barriers is the first step toward breaking them. Once you understand why you cling, you can begin to disentangle yourself from the patterns that keep you trapped, slowly reclaiming the freedom that has always been within reach. Freedom is rarely found in what we cling to. It is found in what we release. When you finally let go of people, expectations, and past pain, you open a space in your life that was previously consumed by resentment, anger, and worry. Every moment spent holding on to grudges, attempting to control others, or seeking approval is energy that cannot be invested in your own growth, joy, or peace. The act of releasing is not passive. It is an active reclaiming of time, focus, and emotional bandwidth. It is the moment when you recognize that the world does not need to bend to your will for you to be whole. Letting go allows you to stop chasing validation that was never yours to earn. Too often, people exhaust themselves trying to prove worth to others, only to find that the approval they seek is fleeting or conditional. When you let go, you realize that the only validation that truly matters comes from within. Your self-worth is no longer dependent on someone else's recognition or their ability to see your value. The relief that comes from that realization is profound because it lifts the burden of constantly measuring yourself against someone else's expectations. Freedom also comes in reclaiming your energy from relationships that drain you. Toxic connections, whether personal or professional, can silently consume your time and emotional strength. They create invisible barriers that prevent you from focusing on what truly matters: your dreams, your health, your growth. By letting go, you cut those invisible chains and redirect your energy toward people and pursuits that nourish and elevate you. This does not mean turning away from responsibility or compassion. It means discerning where your energy is best invested and refusing to be depleted by those who take without giving back. Another aspect of freedom is the ability to define life on your own terms. Letting go gives you the clarity to identify what success, happiness, and fulfillment genuinely mean for you, not what society, family, or peers dictate. When you stop borrowing other people's definitions, you begin living a life that is authentically yours. You wake up each day with the understanding that your priorities, boundaries, and choices are valid simply because you have claimed them, There is a quiet power in that autonomy, a liberation that is impossible to achieve while tethered to external expectations. Letting go also removes the constant need to control outcomes or people. Many struggle with freedom because they feel responsible for fixing or carrying everyone around them. This misplaced sense of duty creates invisible prisons, binding you to stress and anxiety that were never yours to bear. By letting go, you learn that life does not require your constant management. People, circumstances, and outcomes can unfold naturally, and your peace does not have to be contingent on controlling them. This acceptance is liberating because it allows you to focus on what you can influence, your own actions, thoughts, and growth, while releasing the weight of what lies beyond your control. The mental and emotional space that comes with letting go is another form of freedom. The human brain clings to familiar patterns, even if those patterns are painful. Resentment, regret, and fear can occupy your mind like uninvited guests, crowding out creativity, clarity, and joy. Letting go removes these intruders. It creates a blank canvas where you can rebuild, where new opportunities and experiences can enter. That freedom to think, dream, and act without the constant burden of the past is transformative. It is where true growth begins, and it is only accessible when you release the grip of what no longer serves you. Moreover, letting go transforms your relationships with others. When you stop trying to control, manipulate, or appease people, interactions become more authentic. You no longer allow resentment, unspoken grievances, or expectations to poison connections. Instead, relationships are based on mutual respect, genuine care, and choice, not obligation or fear. This kind of clarity enhances your social freedom because you engage with people because you want to, not because you feel trapped by history, guilt, or pressure. Finally, freedom from letting go allows you to live fully in the present. When you are no longer weighed down by the past or anxious about the future, you are able to experience life as it is, rather than through the lens of what should have been or what might be. You become fully immersed in the moments that matter, capable of joy, creativity, and connection in ways that were previously blocked by attachment, fear, or expectation. This liberation is not a fleeting feeling. It is a sustained state of being that grows stronger with every choice to release, forgive, and redirect your focus toward yourself. Living for yourself is a skill, a mindset, and a practice that requires intentionality every single day. It starts with small, deliberate choices that reinforce your boundaries and assert your worth. Saying no is one of the most powerful tools you have, yet so many people shy away from it because they fear judgment, conflict, or disappointment. Learning to say no without guilt is not cruelty. It is self-respect. Every time you decline something that does not align with your values, energy, or goals, you are reclaiming a piece of yourself that was previously given away. This is not about shutting people out. It's about opening the door to yourself. Cutting ties with people who drain you is another crucial step. Toxic relationships are invisible weight that slowly erodes your confidence, clarity, and peace of mind. You may feel obligated to stay, to help, to compromise endlessly. But when these interactions leave you depleted, they are no longer acts of love. They are acts of surrendering your own life for someone else's chaos. Choosing to step away from these situations requires courage, because the familiar, even when damaging, often feels safer than uncertainty. Yet the freedom that comes from releasing these ties is profound. It allows you to redirect your energy toward relationships, passions, and experiences that genuinely nurture and elevate you. Defining success for yourself is equally transformative. Society, family, friends, and peers will constantly provide definitions of what a successful life should look like. High-paying jobs, prestigious degrees, ideal relationships, or material possessions. If you measure yourself by someone else's standards, you are living a borrowed life. True self-living begins when you evaluate your own values, goals, and desires, and craft a version of success that resonates uniquely with you. Whether it is pursuing a career aligned with your passion, prioritizing mental health over social validation, or creating a lifestyle that allows freedom and joy. Your version of success is the only one that matters. Replacing control with trust is another key step in living for yourself. Many people carry the burden of trying to fix, manage, or carry everyone around them, believing that if they don't, things will fall apart. This false sense of responsibility creates stress, resentment, and exhaustion. Letting go of this need to control does not mean apathy. It means understanding that other people are responsible for their own actions and outcomes. You cannot and should not try to micromanage life or people to protect your comfort. Instead, trust the process, trust others to handle their own paths, and most importantly, trust yourself to navigate your own journey. Living for yourself also requires the courage to pursue what truly excites and fulfills you, even if it doesn't fit the expectations of those around you. Many people hesitate to follow their passions because they fear judgment, ridicule, or failure. But when you align your actions with your desires rather than other people's expectations, life becomes vibrant and meaningful. This might mean starting a new career, embracing creativity, traveling alone, or simply spending time in reflection and solitude. Whatever it is, each step taken in alignment with your own vision is a step away from survival mode and a step toward authenticity. Building a daily practice of self-prioritization reinforces living for yourself. It can be as simple as dedicating time to self-reflection, journaling your thoughts and desires, or setting clear daily intentions. It can involve mindfulness practices, exercise, or pursuing hobbies that make you feel alive. The point is to consistently remind yourself that your needs, dreams, and peace are valid and deserving of attention. Each act, however small, is a declaration that you are no longer willing to live as a secondary character in your own story. Another vital aspect is surrounding yourself with people who respect and support your choices. Living for yourself does not mean isolation. It means connection with those who uplift rather than drain you, who celebrate your growth rather than stifle it, who honor your boundaries rather than challenge them. The right company strengthens your resolve, provides encouragement, and reminds you that choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Lastly, living for yourself requires patience and compassion toward yourself. You will falter. You will feel guilty. You will question your decisions. This is natural. What matters is returning to your commitment to prioritize your peace, growth, and authenticity each time you stumble. It is through this ongoing practice that self-living becomes not just an act, but a lifestyle, a mindset, and a liberation from the chains of other people's expectations. Letting go is not only an emotional decision, it is a profound psychological shift that reshapes the way your mind perceives life, relationships, and self-worth. Human beings are naturally wired to cling to pain, disappointment, and even toxic attachments because our brains equate familiarity with safety. Pain, regret, and resentment, though uncomfortable, feel known and predictable. Stepping away from them into the unknown triggers anxiety because the brain interprets uncertainty as a potential threat. This is why letting go can feel terrifying. It is not merely an act of the heart, but a confrontation with deeply ingrained mental patterns that have kept you bound for years. Psychologically, holding on to past hurt creates a kind of invisible mental clutter. Anger, guilt, and resentment occupy space in your mind that could otherwise be used for clarity, creativity, and growth. When you refuse to release what no longer serves you, your thoughts become cyclical, replaying the same events, mistakes, or betrayals over and over again. This repetition strengthens neural pathways associated with pain and stress, making it more difficult to break free over time. Letting go, on the other hand, rewires these pathways, freeing mental energy that can then be invested in learning, exploration, and self-actualization. Another psychological aspect of letting go involves the illusion of control. Many people cling to people or situations because they fear losing control over outcomes. There is a belief that if they release their grip, chaos will ensue, relationships will fail, or life will become unmanageable. But the truth is, control is often an illusion, and holding on tightly only amplifies stress and anxiety. Letting go is a conscious choice to relinquish the need to manipulate outcomes and instead focus on what is truly within your power, your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. This shift not only reduces mental strain, but also fosters resilience, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. Letting go also creates space for cognitive flexibility. When the mind is no longer occupied with past pain or toxic attachments, it can process information more clearly, make better decisions, and respond to life with creativity rather than fear. This cognitive freedom allows for introspection and self-awareness, encouraging you to recognize patterns that no longer serve you and to consciously cultivate healthier habits. The mental clarity gained from releasing emotional baggage is transformative because it allows you to see your circumstances and relationships with greater objectivity rather than through the distorted lens of unresolved hurt or expectation. Psychologically, letting go is closely tied to self-compassion. Many people hold on because they punish themselves for perceived failures or believe that enduring pain is a form of moral obligation. Releasing these attachments involves forgiving yourself and others, not as an act of weakness, but as an acknowledgement that everyone, including you, is human and fallible. Self-compassion reduces the psychological burden of guilt, shame, and self-criticism, creating an internal environment where growth and peace can flourish. Finally, letting go fosters openness to new experiences and opportunities. When the mind is freed from past constraints, it becomes receptive to possibilities that were previously blocked by fear, resentment, or attachment. Psychological research shows that humans thrive when given the mental space to explore, imagine, and adapt, and letting go provides precisely that space. It encourages risk-taking, creativity, and curiosity, all of which are essential for personal evolution. By releasing old patterns and mental clutter, you create room for the unfamiliar, the exciting, and the transformative to enter your life, allowing you to live fully rather than being trapped in cycles of survival. Letting go is the ultimate act of reclaiming your power. It is not a single moment, but a series of choices that gradually strip away the weight that others, circumstances, and past experiences have placed on you. Every time you release the need to control someone else, every time you stop carrying the burden of anger or resentment, and every time you refuse to live according to someone else's script, you affirm that your life belongs to you, and you alone. This act of release is not passive. It is bold, deliberate, and transformative. You are choosing yourself over the familiar chaos that has long dictated your energy, your emotions, and your decisions. When you let go, you stop giving power to those who never truly had your best interests at heart. You stop replaying the past, trying to rewrite what cannot be changed, and you stop seeking approval from those who were never equipped to see your value. In doing so, you reclaim time, energy, and focus, resources that were previously spent in futile attempts to control what was never yours to control. That reclamation is freedom in its purest form. The freedom to think, feel, and act based on your priorities, not the expectations imposed by others. Living life for yourself means you begin to define success, happiness, and fulfillment on your terms. It means that the standards, the timelines, and the pressures imposed by society, family, or peers no longer hold authority over your choices. You decide what matters most, and you pursue it unapologetically. Every decision to prioritize your needs, to protect your peace, or to follow your passions reinforces a profound truth. Your life is yours to live, and no external force can diminish its value. The psychological liberation that comes with letting go is immense. By releasing attachments, grievances, and past hurts, you create mental and emotional space for growth, creativity, and clarity. You begin to think without the cloud of resentment or fear. You begin to plan without the weight of guilt or obligation. You begin to live without constantly measuring yourself against others. Each act of letting go, no matter how small, rewires your brain to embrace possibility rather than limitation, courage rather than fear, and self-determination rather than dependence. Letting go is also a practice of self-respect. When you choose your life over someone else's chaos, you are signaling that your energy, your time, and your peace are non-negotiable. This choice is not selfish, it is essential. It is a recognition that you cannot pour from an empty cup and that the preservation of your well-being is not optional, but vital. By honoring yourself in this way, you set a precedent for how others treat you, creating boundaries that protect your autonomy and empower you to engage with life fully and authentically. As you live life for yourself, you will notice a shift in your relationships. Those who remain in your life do so because of genuine connection, respect, and mutual care, not obligation or manipulation. The noise of expectation fades, and communication becomes authentic, free from the weight of unspoken grievances or forced compromises. You learn that the right relationships thrive on choice rather than fear, and that the wrong ones lose their power the moment you stop giving it to them. This freedom allows your social world to become a source of support and enrichment rather than depletion and stress. Finally, letting go opens the door to fully experiencing the present moment. No longer tethered to the past, you can immerse yourself in the now with awareness, gratitude, and presence. The fears of yesterday and anxieties of tomorrow lose their grip, and you find yourself breathing more freely, thinking more clearly, and moving through life with intention and courage. Letting go is the act of saying, "I will no longer survive on borrowed burdens. I will live on the foundation of my own choices, my own power,